Yeah, she sent it to everybody.
Thanks to you.
Never know about it.
They all did a great job. They did. I mean, really.
I'm going to.
Yes. The lady, right?
Yep. I think they sent an email. She sent an email. Yeah, I think sure. Yeah.
I saw your. I've got them.
They sent her to top here and get finished.
Okay.
She didn't an excellent job. She got right in.
That's what I'm saying. I'll get you some. I'll bring it to you. Sometime next week.
But I thought you'd like to do it.
Were they good?
Yeah.
Really very good.
Pretty good. All right.
Which one you want to do first?
Overall. I don't care what Facebook. Out there. Go.
Good change whatever you see on Facebook's a lie. That's just a general policy. Randall, this is my next purchase. I'll find it right quick. I got two. I'm getting a 72 inch.
Oh, my Lord.
72 inch. They make the 72 inch.
How many blades is on it? 4?
I hadn't seen the bottom, but I've got two 61s. I spent 28 hours on tractor. That bush hog went up. Just beats it down.
I just got it. Swisher. But it's a fence loader, not the bush hog.
Yeah.
That's everything you know, right? No, I got 4 wheels over on my phone. I inherited my mom's place. And I bought it's a 48 inch Swisher fence mower. You get the bush hog Swisher? It'll
Is that a name brand?
Yeah, twice a week. I bought 9.
These guys, I guess you know, they're great machines.
Mine's on 48 inch. I want to be able to get it in at the gate.
You don't need it.
Oh, wow. I ran over a street. I was using my front end motor. Look at that. Ran over a street. Oh, I left it on there. Some of that tire still next time.
Didn't break it off. You're lucky. I kind of raise mine up high. To keep from doing too much damage.
Take the motor you put on there. Right. Or couch off the motor.
That's what you know what the 72 inches they put that the price is showing here. They're 18. They went up. But if I have to, when you get, I've got one calculator.
Yeah, and so that's our,
And they usually
I've got that.
that'd be a better option for me. I don't want to talk myself out of another spot.
That's the one.
That's a finish.
And I knew I needed to make a stop.
It's gonna be. Yeah, he's got 4.
Well, that's.
Y'all ready? All right, let's do it. Welcome. Yep.
All right, so, first up, we'll look at the consent agenda, but is it all right if I just take a minute to really brag on West Ridge today and everybody that was involved? We have a situation there today. There is an ongoing investigation, so we won't expand on a lot of the details, but I will say that it did result in an evacuation of the building, and that evacuation took on multiple different stages throughout the day. And the teachers, the students, the staff, support staff, the administrative team, all the responders, the police department, the sheriff's department, the support from outside of our area really made it for a very smooth event, considering the fact that there were, we had to change a lot during the course of the day, location and things. Of course, we were outside, but the campus was at a position where we couldn't bring buses on campus. We couldn't let cars go off campus, so we were in an isolated area that was safe, obviously, but our students did it exceptionally well. What you say?
Yeah, can I add to that?
Yeah.
From the sheriff's office side of things, I've been almost 21 years at the sheriff's office, and we've been through, I bet you I've been part of 50 bomb threats, and nothing like what we dealt with today, ever. And I don't want to say it was, I would not necessarily say it was a credible threat. That wouldn't be the word to use, but the information that we gained after we initially found it give us reason to look a little harder and look a little deeper. And that's why the safest place for those kids was where we basically could see, you know what I mean? And that football field, we could see. It was hot, but we didn't want to put them in danger at all until we could verify or confirm or deny what we were looking at or what we thought we may have been dealing with. At the end of the day, thankfully, nothing was located or whatever, but like Mr. Carter said, it changed, and a lot of the movement and the changes was based on the direction from law enforcement. They asked what we thought, and it just happened. It was like fluid. And I know it's never fun to change the plan in the middle of the game, but that's what we had to do. And like he said, the administrators and the teachers and everybody, they did exactly what was asked. The kids were no problem. I mean, we had to move them twice three times really, from the bleachers to the football field, from the football field to the softball field, from the softball field back in the building. And I wasn't there everywhere at once, but I didn't see anything.
No.
I mean, no.
Orderly.
I mean, they did just exactly what we asked. And that, I think, shows leadership, good leadership on the school system's behalf. Of course, I don't want to do it again tomorrow. But it is still active investigation, and a lot of resources were tied up today by everybody, and when and if we can determine who did it, there will be charges placed. There'll be felony charges will come out of it, and that's not a threat. That's just the reality of the situation. People got to be held accountable for their actions, and hopefully that will be the next step in the process. But good job by everybody involved.
Quick, I'm not going very deep into it, just a curious thing. Is this something that you normally have a lessons learned on? You sit back and say, this is the good, this is the bad,
Yes,
and review it? Because
tomorrow morning there'll be a debrief at West Ridge, and we've already talked, Ms. Knuckles and I, that we'll be doing a debrief as well. And so there's obviously always going to be things that you would look back on and say, I wish we would have done this or whatever. But yes, no real.
And thankfully, in my opinion, I hope we don't ever get good at it. Because I hope we don't have that many problems. And you know what I'm saying? Not necessarily good, but there's always going to be room for improvement on everybody involved, in my mind. But I thought It was smooth.
You know, if it's appropriate, and if we need to, we can have a security meeting or a meeting about safety that's private. We did that with the sheriff's department once before, so if there's a need for that, to talk about what we could do better or different, or keep that in mind.
That would be a good idea. Sir. I don't know how would we go about that?
I think we should verify with Chris McCarty that it is legal, and if you have a call meeting, closed door.
Maybe before just before a meeting.
30 minutes, something.
But I mean, personally, from the school side of things and the sheriff's office side of things, the safety of these kids and faculty and staff and everybody in that building, that's kind of got to be above.
Okay. Thank you. Still on the consent agenda, there are letters C and D. We do have a field trip. Of course, letter B, but letter C, Sullivan East has an agreement with a tractor supply company, and West Hills, I believe, is the name. And West Hills provided a tractor last year, and they're going to do the same this year. It's a $1 lease, and they'll let them use that throughout the year, specifically in the ag department. Right, Ms. Madden?
Yes.
So, be asking for consent or approval on that one. And then the next one, letter D, is Sullivan East has requested fuel cards for the vans. Westridge got the cards from North, correct, Ingrid?
That's right.
And so East didn't have any, so they're just requesting the fuel cards. On the next two, E and F, E is the safe return to in-person instruction, which we've been back for a long period of time. So that's just an approval of our plan to return to school back when we did return.
Nothing changed?
Nothing changed. Nothing
Not
changed.
since 21.
Right, right. And then the other one is just what we're doing with our remaining SU3 funds. You can see that. If you have any questions, Ms. Buckles would be glad to address those.
How much we have in this for committee right now?
We have about 670,000. Knowing part of that probably is going to have to cover overage in the bonus overage in the bonus.
Say that again.
So we have 670,000, but part of that will cover overage from the bonus that we're
So the
given.
bonus has not been taken out of that?
We're going to take part of the bonus out of ESSER 2, and then the remaining will come from that 670.
Do you know how much-ish? Or not real?
Not exactly, because I mean, I can give you a ballpark, but that's going to be paid out on the day, who's employed on the day that it's paid, and so I don't know what that exact figure is.
Unfortunately, that's changing every day.
So,
Which it's going down every day.
It is going down.
so on the high side, what would the number be?
But on the high side, it looks like it could be a little bit less than 100,000.
Any other questions there? Letter G is the SCRHD Tobacco and Vaping Prevention Program, the MOU that Mr. Foster has. Anything you'd like to say on that one, Mr. Foster?
Just very briefly, a long time ago, or back in the earlier in this year, we talked about using the Catch My Breath Vaping Prevention Program, and we were going to propose that be paid for by title funds, and the health department has come through with the funding, so they're going to pay for that. So this is the memorandum of understanding to accept those funds from the health department. It's part of that settlement, that tobacco settlement for the state.
And that is already being implemented. The
Okay, so it's up and running, yes, sir, yes.
Getting positive.
So far, I've had
Feedback.
very positive feedback from that.
Can I ask a question about that? the vapes you're seeing, are they mostly THC vapes or are they?
Well, it's just a combination.
And how do we determine what they are?
So, most of the time, the students volunteer that information.
That's what I figured.
You know, yes, they have.
So they admit it.
Yeah, they have a different smell, they have a different look. A lot of times, just the labeling on the card itself that contains the THC, sometimes Delta 8, Delta 9, there's lots of ways that you can kind of determine that, but most of the time, kids are just pretty honest. Yeah,
That's what I thought. Somebody asked if we did some kind of field test, and I know we didn't have, I didn't
they
do
don't do that, and the lab doesn't test those things.
Right.
How much do you see in the middle schools?
THC, not very much in the middle schools. A lot of the nicotine vapes are very, very available for folks to have. And, you know, we're not seeing big, huge numbers so far this year like we saw last year. So it'll increase though as the year goes on.
All right. Moving on down to communications, we'll be mentioning this fact that next week is fall break for Sullivan County school students, the 9th to the 13th. Maybe a limited number of people here. I'm finding out. I may be here by myself, but I'm going to take a couple of days in there as well. But I do have a couple of days where I've got commitments, so that is next week fall break. We will be recognizing our level 5 TBOS schools that have the composite score of the level 5. Again, that'll be Ketron, Mr. Ball, Mary Hughes, Mr. Gentry, who's in the room with us currently, Miller Perry, Mr. Wilson, Rock Spring, and Ms. Kinsmore has a representative from her school who'll be here tonight. Penny Left, she'll be here to accept the certificate we have for her. She's got to be out of town. And Mr. Dr. Fields, Dr. Fields won't be here tonight. He has something going on in his building, so he's sending Miss Wright, Michelle Wright, and then Sherry Nelson. And I also invited Greg Stalk up, so Greg may be here since he was the principal at the time that this took place. And then Mr. Hare is going to be represented by Mr. James. He asked me if it'd be all right if Mr. James came. He felt like he had been there, a stalwart at Sullivan East for a long period of time. He wanted him to proceed with it. So we'll do those tonight. We'll move on down into the unfinished business. On the old Holston warehouse, letter A, we did meet with Dr. McCord and a team from Northeast State Community College, and there is interest. I believe there would have been more interest if the fields were still available, but I think we sold those at some point. So they kind of dampened it just a little bit, but they're going to have Mr. Hubbard take them over there and look at the facilities. We did express that the warehouse is detached is something of interest to us, and so that we would be wanting to get a building wherever it ended up being, but we didn't want to lose that building completely. So they are going to be looking at that. On the Henry Harbor Road property, still met with Mr. Tatum again. He was just asking if we were still interested. Of course, we couldn't do the cemetery, and so we still need to figure out how to get over to the other road. And Mr. Jones actually sent me a contact. Teresa Tibble ended up being the lady's name. They're in Bristol, and I called and left messages. And just earlier this week, finally got to talk to her, and she said, well, I'll talk to my husband and see if there's any interest. She called today, and I took her call because I said, well, she's going to give us some updates. I'd like to get that. And she basically said that if we worked it out with Mr. Tatum for that strip of land, that they would potentially donate the connector onto that road. They would maintain the rest of the property that they have there, so it's advantageous to them because now you've got an access road going right by your property. It probably raises the value of their
And
property.
they got several acres.
Right, right.
So I have to name it Tibble Road or something.
There you go, there you go. So, that, now I'll need to go back to, we'll need to go back to Mr. Tatum and say, are you interested in land swap? And see what his thoughts are there.
That's good.
Any questions?
Still a long road and a lot of work, but it's actually looking good.
Yeah, I mean, if we do the land swap especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're getting that before we sell. It's good.
Letter C, and this is just a conversation to see if there's any interest in moving forward with something. I was approached by a gentleman, Manuel Steffi. He's a real estate agent here in Sullivan County. And Mr. Steffi and a group have formed a 501c3, and you got their document in your folder, not actually in your folder, I handed to you. It says leasing proposal on it. Looks like this one. And this is, their interest is in the former Sullivan Gardens Middle, and they're wanting to, without, you can read through it, their proposal, but they're interested in turning it into a community center with different kinds of offices available, their veteran affairs, different things of that sort. So, the back page kind of talks about what they're interested in, the sections of the building that they're interested in, because they're not interested in the whole property. One thing that did come up would be, what would that look like if they were there during the daytime when school was in session? Is that even possible or feasible? So, I'll give you just a minute to look that over, and then if there's any questions, this would be a conversation to say, we would be interested in Mr. Steffi coming to the next board meeting, work session, and answering questions, if there's even any interest in the possibility of this.
Just to add a little bit to it, he's had a couple of meetings. I went to a couple of the meetings. I know he's been talking to Randall several different times, but he's been in contact with Chris Leisure also. So I mean, he's trying to do, that's the same kind of process. They're looking at the concept of community and open it up to different groups like Leisure's done, and they really loved his concept. They looked at the book that he did and stuff. So what they're trying to do is that. I think at some point, it may have been you that told them, I told them, that there need to be some sort of a barrier between the building and like the rest of the school lot. So there needed to be something there. So I know this is what they're pushing forward or trying to ask, but I don't know what they're wanting to do eventually, but they are definitely trying to have a big community center there. Most of the people that are involved in that group graduated high school when it was Sullivan West High School. So that seems to be the majority of the people in there.
Are the utilities on in that building now, electricity and water?
Andrew, do you know that? Charlie's not here, he had a new granddaughter.
No, the Sullivan Middle.
Sullivan Middle.
Yeah, they are. They are right over there. We're using much at all, but I would think the electricity would be used to maintain the temperature a little bit to keep the water.
And you don't want everything molded up either, because there's a lot of storage.
Yeah.
Where's our the storage we're using?
We're using the gym right now, I think.
That's what I was thinking. They all walk to the gym?
Oh, they are.
They are.
They are.
So we're all, they're on.
That first paragraph.
The right lane will be the thing. that
Right.
says, so.
And they're also wanting to include the fields, the baseball, softball, football stadium, bleachers, field house, parking lots, and grounds.
The, couple of things, the gym right now, I've not been out to look at it, but it may be wise for the board to go out there and look at what's there.
Yeah. There's quite a bit, but it's, I mean, I
I
don't
think there's a
know.
lot of stuff in there, a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
appliances and stuff that's
Right.
not to get rid of, but what would you do with them if you actually
Right.
did lease it? And who would move them, where would you move them to?
Right. And that's, and I hadn't saw the part, I hadn't seen the part about the right wing. And I don't know if that's enough. I have no idea what's there, if that would be, what you're talking about, I have no idea.
I don't know either.
Could we get Charlie or somebody to go in there a week ago? I mean, I don't know what I'm looking at, you know.
I think it'd be wise for us to see it, at least have,
Sure.
to go with us and open it up and,
Yeah.
the ones that wanted to see
This
what's
is
there.
the stuff from when we closed down the middle school.
Yeah, we moved a lot more stuff out there, and some of it's good stuff, it's, I don't know if we need it, but,
Yeah.
I think it'd be wise for us to see it, at least have, go with us and open it up and,
Yeah.
and see what's there.
Yeah. I mean, don't want everything molded up either, because that's a lot of storage.
I don't know if
And I don't really know the answer to this, and I'm just throwing it out there because I really don't know. But we have several buildings full of stuff that may never be used again. I mean, at some point, we need to look at, you know, I mean, I know we're already trying to go through some of that gov deals and things, but I mean, at some point, having another 500 desks is kind of pointless. And if we're heating buildings just to keep 500 desks that we'll never use again, I mean, there has to be a different step forward in this process other than just keep going stuff.
Isn't it like literally an act of Congress to get rid of stuff? I mean, you can't just destroy it.
Especially depends on the funding.
Yeah.
I don't think we have anything stored anywhere else, do we? Is it Sullivan Middle the only place we have stuff stored now?
There was a ton of, I was at Holston the other day, and
The old Holston Warehouse.
the old school,
Yeah.
and there's a ton of stuff.
The gym was packed.
And I mean, to me, it doesn't look like it's worth anything, but I don't know what it looks like.
And that's why, I mean, I don't know, at some point, excess material after a certain age, surely there's a rule that
I
you
would
can.
think, because I mean, some of that stuff down there looked like, come over on the ark.
No, we had a policy that was valued at under $200, discarded after it was signed off on by the board.
That's in our policy
Yeah.
now. Some of it depends on where it came from, though. If it came from
Federal
federal,
dollars.
you can't do anything with it.
Right.
Just keep it with the gov deals, and somebody takes it.
I mean, surely somewhere there's a way.
There has to be, I mean, because you can't just keep everything
Would,
forever.
would Chris know, the guard? Will he know how to get that?
Even TSBA, somebody there,
Somebody.
you'd think somebody somewhere would have a way of, at some point, some of this stuff needs to go. I mean,
We might want to find out what all we've got.
Right.
Old Holston Warehouse, Sullivan Middle School. I think all the other schools we've got rid of now. That, I mean, I believe, Kingsley and Brookside, those have all been depleted. And so we should be just looking mainly at two buildings, and at Acre, everything there is usable, isn't it? Right.
do we still own that building? It's close to Burning Web Field. There's an old school building back there. Is that something that we own, or is that something that's not?
Rock
part of us?
building?
No, that's what
It's right.
EMS is using it. Now, I
Yeah.
think the county owns it.
I do, we don't own it.
I think the county owns it, and EMS uses it for all their storage.
We've got an old school, I'm not sure.
Good one.
And the second question I had, who's doing the ball fields at Sullivan Middle now?
That's all right.
That's who?
SRA, Sullivan.
Recreation Association.
Are they part of this?
That's what I was.
No, they're not. And I know that the two groups are talking. I don't
You said
know.
they are talking?
They are talking. So I don't know.
They've been doing that forever, right?
Yeah, that's why he's been using the ball fields forever.
I'd hate to kick them out. I mean,
Right.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I think that's part of this, is if we had fields, we could generate a little bit.
But that different group would be taking it over, and I think that Mike Gregg and them, they've done that for,
Long time.
Several years, I think I've been there with it 15 and he's been there, he's there all over now.
I'll throw something else out for you to think about. Those athletic fields are in the flood zone. Right?
Yes.
Now,
Now, in their softball season, when we had to play softball, we had to take kayaks.
if,
That's a new sport.
Mike has sent me pictures before and he said,
Oh, yeah.
we're gonna play, bring some kayaks.
if we were to donate those athletic fields back to the county, the county
We
then
could listen.
can donate to any group.
Right.
Well, the school system cannot.
Exactly.
We can lease, but we can't donate. But if it's in flood zone, it's of no use to us, and we haven't used it as a school system for athletics for 20 years, probably or longer, if I'm not mistaken.
I think SRA pays all of the electric and everything over there, so they're already
Yeah,
doing
school
that.
used it, and they still open their
No. I don't think they went down to the, I don't believe they went down to the fields at all, is what I'm saying.
middle school.
It would make more sense if they did, but I don't know. I mean, I
Well,
don't
I
know
went
if
to
everyone's
Sullivan
again.
Middle, they played their football games, baseball, softball there. What, 3 years ago?
Probably did, yeah.
Yeah, they used it then,
But-
but now once
yeah,
they're
they're-
fit, you got a big rain, now you use up the water, so
Right.
you had to give it ball before.
The highway department spent a ton of time down there getting stuff's right.
But is that something that we want to consider? though? We can't donate, but,
I think it'd be a good idea, and especially, I mean, it also takes one more insurance risk off of us. So that's, I mean,
I'd hate to go against them and,
right,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I'm all for this, I just think we need to make sure, I guess like on the maintenance of the building, we have somebody in there who's gonna cover something if something goes wrong. Because I think y'all heard me say it enough, I'd love for something just to be in my area.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a great idea.
Now, I like your plan too, though, because it allows us to do something with that property, but it also takes a risk off of our backs too, so, you know, that's a good thing.
I mean, I've been down looked at the deal several times, and I don't see any use of the school system right now for them. It's quite a distance away from them.
And of course, if the elementary kids to use it, would have to go across the road, and that's not,
Right.
you know, so that's not good, so. I think it's a great idea, I like it. That's
We will
cool.
try to plan on going out there and looking.
First.
Go look before we do anything with this.
I think so, but I like what his plan is, either one, because even if we enter into this lease agreement and we did something with that land as far as the schools go, then they could go over and across the street and talk to them too and see if they can get it that way. It doesn't take anything away from them, but it also gets us off of our back, so. It's a good idea.
If we could say something for Charlie, maybe.
Yeah.
I think the gym was used more with storage than what it was after they moved all this stuff out of Rome.
And I think that gym was resurfaced not long before we closed it down, wasn't it? 'Cause I remember going out there and playing, I think my youngest playing out there, the floor itself was in really good shape.
Evelyn, I went over there with her as we were talking about what to do about that covered walkway and the gym and whatever, so we went out there and looked, and we went through that middle school gym, and they were getting flagpoles and things out of it. There were a lot of things, but it wasn't really that packed. I mean, there was walkways around everything, you know, what was jammed in, but there's still a lot of good stuff.
Did we take things from Parkville down there?
So it's got stuff from a little bit everywhere. It wasn't just that school.
So if we're just gonna schedule a tour or a time to go down there, does everybody have to be there, or is it just whoever wants to go? Or
I think it's,
I think we'll reach out to Charlie, and he can take one at a time if he wants to, or
I
whatever.
think he'd be down there, just go in and.
Yeah.
be open if you wanna come?
Yeah.
This day between this and this?
All right.
I don't see if we need to sit on the exact rate deal. No possible use for it.
I agree with
So if we take the tour, do we want to invite Mr. Stevie to the next meeting, or do we need to, or at this point?
I'm willing to listen, I think it would be good to listen to, so.
I was inviting, that may give us an idea.
What he's looking at.
Just kind of, if we have questions, he would be here. It's not necessarily to do a presentation or,
Would you want to invite him to just a work session then, instead of a meeting?
yeah, right, November work session. But in the meantime, I'll ask Charlie to get a date set up and a time, like a 2-hour window, 3-hour window or something. We can have it open and available. All right. Moving on down, and I think I told Dr. Palmer, incorrect, the next is 6B, facilities, the school level needs. And he has that up there, and you have that on your electronic agenda as well. This is an unfiltered copy of what the principals and Mr. Hubbard has looked this over. So I don't know whether it's necessary to go over item by item right now, but for your review and then what steps will we want to take from here? Because right there, that includes Indian Springs went ahead and added some items. Sullivan East did as well, and Mary Hughes. So those are the three that there's a report on, correct? And so this is a combination of all And we use a format that goes with board policy showing the number of classrooms, the class sizes, and then the school population and any other pertinent information there. So I guess it'd just be what the pleasure of the board wants to do as far as if we're looking at a 5-year plan, how we want to condense this.
Can you break that out, maintenance needs versus what I would call infrastructure needs? Because there's several things I saw on that list that were just purely maintenance, you know, guttering and cleaning guttering and things of that nature.
Can you scroll up?
So are we looking at these things, these are in addition to what we're looking at for the contractor to come back and tell us, these are just in addition to, or, I mean, help me.
These were just
marry the
items
two.
that principals got with their people in their building, talked with maintenance, and then made a list of these are the things that out of ESSER 2 and 3 projects, these are things that we believe still need to be done in our building. So at this point, like I said, it's just an unfiltered list, and I like what Mr. Jones suggested, separating maintenance out of it to more of a,
Sort of like trimming the trees and,
Yeah. There's a board policy that says every year in October that he'll present
Hey, Mike, you want to look at a paper copy?
Yes, I'm looking for something specific, and I'll ask about it in a minute. I may be looking in the wrong place. I'll go ahead and ask. I think I just saw it. Yes, here it is. Thank you.
Sure.
I had a call about Sullivan Heights basketball court, and I was under the impression that we had a schedule to fix that.
oh, it's just on this list.
It's just on this list. That still has the same logo, South logo and everything.
That's one of the only logos left. They covered almost everything else.
That's something and that floor is in pretty bad
So
shape.
it would need at least a top.
It needs to be refinished.
Yeah.
I mean, it needs to be taken down
Take it all the way down.
Take it all the way down.
and redone.
Which is.
And then
neat.
some work was done on centrals, and I went and looked at it this summer, but I think a group spent $3,000 and done what they done. But really, it would have been better for that floor to have been, I saw some spots. Those two floors, I mean, we're gonna be in those schools for a while. Those two floors need some attention. Anybody know the cost right off the top of their head to do of course, South would be like a high school floor, because it used to be a high school.
I think somebody told me that DB, when they made that, or when they made North into the DB vocational whatever thing, or that athletic complex, it was $100,000, I think, is what they did. But that did the floor and the stand. They did everything. So I mean, so it'd definitely be below that.
Yeah,
I guess.
that surface needs to be done, and that logo and stuff needs to be changed. I had a call about that, and I'm supposed to call that person back, but.
If I can add a little bit to that, that floor has been redone several times. A good wood floor like you have at South, they can be taken down several times, like you said, take it all the way down on the ground, or all the way down to the grain, get it cleaned up. There's only a certain number of times you can do that, is what we found out with some of our floors. So just, you need to find a good company. I'll just throw it out there. Somebody who knows what they're doing that can tell us, you know, when they evaluate the floor, how many more times we have to take that down. We may be on the last time that floor can go. We don't know that, I guess. So the price is going to be, you know, a big difference between if you take the finish off, paint a new logo on it, and just refinish it, versus we can't take that down anymore.
Yeah.
We're on our last go, you know? So that could be a big factor.
So it has been done.
It's been done several times.
Okay.
If it's
And so-
several times, I'd say you're done.
It
But
could be.
I've dealt with flooring before. My dad used to run a business, and you're hitting it, and if you get down into them grooves,
That's right.
and if it's been, I would say, if it's been more than twice, maybe 3 times, I would
It's been
say.
doing more than twice.
I think so, but that's why you just make sure you get somebody like your family, somebody who's done it several times and knows what they're doing and can look at it
We
and say,
shut it down, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be good to find out.
I didn't realize it didn't be done.
yeah,
But,
it
that's-
has. And so that could be a big factor, just come out a red flag for you.
It's still got the old logo, and
Right.
seems like we've kind of lost track of that. I wanted to bring that to everybody's attention and see if we could maybe put that in get some prices, and while we're at it, I looked at and I appreciate what they spent $3,000, and I don't know what group did it, and for the money they got, what they could do for the money, but that probably needs to be looked at as well. Might have been better to put that $3,000 toward just redoing it in retrospect, but it is what it is. But those two need to be looked at, especially the Sullivan Heights with the old logos and stuff. And maybe next meeting or so we can get some feedback.
I would think that Charlie would have that information as well and be able to tell us which gyms have been taken down to the grain, which ones have just been slicked off and then repainted.
You're right.
It had been long since I saw them do the east floor, and they keep that floor. It looks just unbelievable. And that Sullivan South building is a good building. We need to keep putting money in it and keep it looking like we're going to use it, because we're going to be there for a while.
Well, that's the advantage of doing this list. It gives you can see what your priorities are when we get everything put together.
Do you want this back?
No, you fine. That's
good,
fine.
because I didn't print it, and I'd actually called Mr. Carter earlier in the month, and he said it was, and I said,
So the fact that there's actual academic classrooms where CTE classrooms should be housed at East, that will take place during the larger improvement.
And that facilities report that was done and had East included. So I think that was
East and Mary Hughes, Indian Springs, they're supposed to be separate.
those three.
Those three, because they're going to do a total needs assessment.
So I'm saying that would be included in that. the
Yes,
fact
it should
that
be, as well.
We need to make sure we mention that to somebody.
But that's in the renovation plan, so you want to make sure you don't lose track of which one's renovation, which one is.
That's why I was
maintenance.
asking.
And,
you know, you're talking about Mary Hughes, we're talking about needing an elevator there.
that's part of that renovation.
That's okay.
Where it should be.
So that's something we're going to have
When the architects come in, they should be able to add to this list and keep the two separate if you can. But I noticed like on Indian Springs they've got a guttering issue, which is maintenance. But it said the roofer said that the guttering need to be realigned or re-leveled. So if we can pull the maintenance needs out that our people can do, it would help. And then we can prioritize some of the others.
As far as the elevator goes, over here at the Bluntville Elementary, they're putting an elevator there, so I mean, right now, we can have some good pricing.
Yeah, 980,000.
I'm scanning through this, and I see Central Middle Stadium and the doors and so forth. And this summer, when I was going around checking the pavement, when they were finishing, I took probably 150 pictures of, and I have them on my phone. That's really a nice stadium. A lot of things, the paint and the doors and stuff, so that's very accurate. That would really make a big difference.
I mean, some of the small things we've been doing make a huge aesthetic difference too. I mean, just a little more paint, a little more this, a little more that, it goes a long way on that.
So, for example, like the bleachers, where he says they're starting to crumble, is that maintenance, or do you want to leave that on as?
Well, I don't think maintenance can do those, because the brick or chip is what it said on that.
Just what our guys could do.
That would be structural. But if you can put together a report, it would help me to be able to see it.
For mainly structural, and then this maintenance,
Right.
two different categories.
Two different categories, and that doesn't mean our maintenance guys will be able to get it all, but it would at least be separate.
Structural is.
Break in and find a crack.
I think I saw some door locks and stuff on that.
That's probably all under maintenance.
I did find a way in and got some good
So,
pictures.
kind of a squirrel moment, if you don't mind, just a curious thing. So, when Mary talked about it, it reminded me, but I had a conversation with a person in the state asking them some questions about the innovative school model thing, the $1 million for the high schools and the $500,000 for the middles. And I started asking them, did they have any lists of what people were doing with it? Just out of curiosity, because I mean, we've got some plans, but we really haven't started a lot of it yet. And they gave me a couple of options, gave me a couple of people, and then I started thinking, well, we did have somebody that had something to do with CTE recently in the state. So I reached out to Chuck and just asked him, you know, are we, just out of curiosity, I just don't know, are we doing as much as we can with our innovative school models? Because it seems like, I mean, we're building a thing, I think East, I'm pretty happy with what's going on at East, I think, and I'm not positive, and if we're good, fantastic. But are we doing what we can at Westridge? Instead of building that one thing to move the construction over, can we build that one thing and have multiple options of CT? Because in my mind, after I've looked at, all we're doing is relocating. Are we just relocating our construction from the annex over to the Westridge complex? If we build that same thing, could we not open it up to more options of CT? Because, I mean, with CT being such a focus on the state and money falling on them, TISA giving $5,000 extra, it seems like if we had more options, that would be. So, and I don't know, just a question. I don't know how much we've talked about it or how much we thought about it, because at first it just seems like, you know, we said, we're gonna do this at East and this at Westridge, and boom, we're great. But I don't know how far into it. I don't know if we really looked at concepts of what other options could be there. I mean, could we, or am I going down the wrong rabbit hole?
I'll say, Miss Magic, you got information today about STEM. Or no, that was at the Perkins meeting last night, wasn't it? That you went
Yeah,
to?
the town hall meeting.
Could you
Yeah,
just-
STEM is one of the priority areas as far as the new Perkins funding. So every 2 years, we have to do a comprehensive local needs assessment. And that's what I was sharing with you. And restate our goal, the Perkins grant. And so integrating STEM in all areas of
We don't currently.
looking at it for digital electronics, computer science, engineering, and not just architecture and engineering, and also robotics and automation. So there's several different areas that STEM could branch out to. And as far as the labor market data, it supports all areas of STEM as far as growth, high skill, high wage, in demand in this area.
And one thing about the STEM is we're really investing in all 3 middle schools. East, Central, and Sullivan have to have really state-of-the-art STEM, robotics and things. And so if we get those kids all fired up and then we bring them over to Westridge and we don't have a program, we kind of, yeah. And if it's in demand. So I mean, that's one that comes to my mind is STEM, because you told me about that this morning. But,
Do we have a digital media program? We don't in either high school.
Yeah, we have graphic arts and digital arts design at Westridge. We have 2 programs, one on the main campus and then one at the annex, and they kind of do different things with different equipment because we try to rotate those students through both programs. However, we do not have that at Sullivan External.
What do we call it?
It's digital arts design.
but then are you thinking more along the lines of audio visual or the print and everything?
I'm talking about audio visual.
That's what we got
We
that.
do have audio visual arts and audio visual.
Which
production.
is digital media or audio visual.
Graphics.
Now graphics are.
It's separate, it's a separate
It's separate.
program.
That's kind of, you know, there's pretty big demand in advertising and stuff for graphic design. So,
One other thing I'll add, and this is just something I really would love for you to do it for us, to be honest with you. I had Chuck come over to the education committee meeting, and he brought all of his TISA funding for CT. And it wasn't the funding, I'm sorry, the CT options. And it showed exactly what's available and what we have in our high schools. And to be honest with you, it gave me a lot more data than I had. So, I mean, I would really appreciate it if you would do the same thing for us on a work session basis, just to say, these are what we have, this is what we're offering, this is, and I mean, because I had no idea, and I mean, it's like Michael's asking a question now, I didn't know. And I thought it was fantastic. It was eye-opening to me to see how many we had, but also how many we didn't have. So it was, I think it was a fantastic presentation, so I'd appreciate it if you doing it.
And the key to that is Perkins dollars, which is what funds career technical education, has to be in line with high demand, in high wage, high skill for this area. And that's how TISA is going to go as well. So, and construction is there. It is in that high demand and area for Sullivan County, this region.
So is it, I mean, since we haven't started, I mean, and it may be too late. If it's too late, that's fine. But if it's not too late, could we maybe look at options besides just moving the construction over? I mean, it seems like if we were able to offer the engineering or open up more options, in my mind, it would be better to open more options than it would just be to relocate. And I don't know, maybe there's more to the relocation, and maybe I'm way off base. And I could be, and if I am, I apologize, but it just seems like if all we're doing is moving the building from the annex over to the new, we're going to build a building just to move construction.
I think it's going to expand the construction.
Is it?
Mistaken.
Oh, okay, that's, I'm not sure, that's what I'm.
Well, I've been talking to the instructor, of
Okay.
course, there may be a new one, I'm not sure how long. She's set to retire,
He's close, isn't he? Ms. Maggie?
I mean, I don't have an estimated date, he hasn't mentioned that to me.
I couldn't remember on that, but I know that they felt like it would increase the enrollment, especially in the program, if it went over there with it. Now, the original plan with West Ridge was to have the construction at West Ridge. And of course, with value engineering and having moved this date at the other one, then you could also do some more programs at the annex if you wanted to do on the STEM program, where they could be shared with the middle school too, if need be.
Is there a lot of them in that construction? Is it very full? Or do we, I'm
So
sorry,
we
I'm
just have
asking.
the one construction program, but
Okay.
when they take that very first fundamental for construction, they can branch out into residential, commercial construction, or HVAC. It's probably, I don't have exact enrollment numbers now, but.
It's not a fair question, I'm sorry.
That's okay, but I can get you that information, and the plans were to add masonry to that.
Okay,
And
that's
before
good.
Dr. Davis left, he had several partners in the community that were willing to put some money into masonry. However, I haven't had any reach out to me thus far. But that is a part of that program. It is within the competencies and standards of residential and commercial construction masonry.
And HVAC is close by the construction building going to be, is that right? Right now?
Right now, just right
So
beside.
it's all tied together there in one complex. This is the part that was missing. Originally, there was an entire sheet of all the offerings. Do you still have that? When Bo Shadden was here, there was a sheet of what the aviation was on that list. And
Well, that's what I'm saying. What he had the other day shows the current, what's available, what
Right.
we're offering, and that is fantastic. It was a great
but
presentation.
back in 2015, when we first started it, there was a list, and some things did not make it. I'm not sure.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
I've got it.
And
So
I
we're sitting
can
down and
provide you all
had people
with
vote
that
on it?
list.
Pardon?
I can provide you all with the list of programs of study we offer. We offer 35 different programs of study out of 57 that are offered, through the State Department. So.
Are there any that are like in our, I mean, because I know you said they're rated at Perkins. Are there any that are like really, really highly rated that we need that we don't have? But we got pretty much the top 10, we're good.
Engineering.
Engineering.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's just one that comes to mind.
And we did have architecture and engineering at Westridge. However, we lost that teacher. And so we rehired another teacher for the STEM program.
Do we have trouble finding teachers certified in that particular area, engineering?
We had several to interview for, when we interviewed Mr. Hudson for that position. So the hardest one we've had is aviation, but not necessarily
So,
STEM.
just imagine alluded to Mr. Hudson, we have hired a teacher, but there's a question right now of whether he feels strong in like coding, IT, but he is capable of doing the engineering. He'd have to get a certification, correct?
every occupational licensed
Has to
CTE
have the
teacher has to have
cert.
an industry certification to apply for a occupational license.
So I don't know how much it's gonna affect us in the high school level, but Richard Blevins at Northeast State with the aviation, he said there was some change in the federal aviation laws and rules about what could be provided, and that you could almost have a teacher certificate and teach the aviation class if the aviation product is provided by Northeast State. So I don't know if that's something you've looked into, but
Dr.
it seemed like
Palmer has
easier.
been consulting with him
Okay.
on that.
Is it working out that way or not? Did I oversimplify?
It's not worked out that way.
I got you. All right.
But it's okay. We do have someone we have hired before who's been joining us after fall break. So I feel like we're in pretty good shape now. It has been difficult to find someone, as you know, in
Oh,
aviation.
yeah, absolutely.
You know, there's so much opportunity out there, you know?
Yes.
So it's hard to find a teacher that wants to be in that building with us when they can go do so many things. So, but yeah, we're out in pretty good shape now.
Good, thank you.
I don't know how he's done it, but Dr. Palmer's been able to fill in at that class and still keep up with everything he's got on his plate. So he's been over there, how many weeks have you been there now? 3. And I don't know how he does the morning there, and he changes into his other Superman costume. Goes to the next, so.
One of the things I noticed that could be added to the list for Mary Hughes is that gymnasium floor. It's been finished a time or two, but at some point it needs to be, it's full of dead spots. I mean, I don't.
That was not what I was gonna say, Mike.
Pardon me?
That's what I was gonna mention. It's been finished, actually it's been finished since I've been there. I don't think it was a great job when it was finished last.
I think
But,
it's one of them deals
but
where
there's dead spots, and I'm afraid it's gonna be more expensive.
the next time it's done, it needs to be,
New floors.
I mean, they're really bad dead spots. And I know where most, every one of them are.
We'll add that, we'll add that.
There's at least 5.
While we're talking about Mary Hughes, just so everybody's aware, they opened the bid the other day for the boiler, 300 days. So we're looking at August of 2024, having that installed. We're crossing our fingers. I've talked with Mr. Gentry about, we almost need a contingency plan in place that if that thing goes out, it'll be really hard to heat this winter over there. So
And what's the plan?
we're working on it. We've talked about other buildings that are in the area. We talked about, can we heat? And I don't know if we can heat it with just
How many
electric.
students do you have right now?
We're at 3, what is it, 3, right around 370.
More than I thought.
Yep. And when middle school left, I think folks thought that we had all kinds of room, but we've had growth, and then we've had other programs move in, and we're a little bit shy of what we were when middle school left, but not much.
So we'll keep trying to come up with a plan that we can present to you, but there's not a lot of viable options. We're too big to move to one of the other Emmett or Bluff City, so that's not an option.
Was it in range on the price? We said 300 days, was it
So
was it in the
it's in
affordable
there,
range?
it's in the ESSER. It's just the days are the thing, and the fact that we've got to make it this winter, our boiler system, so.
Mike Riddle may be camping over there this winter from our maintenance department.
Yes, and yeah. Anything else on the facilities needs? I will work to get us separation of structural versus maintenance, add the Mary Hughes gym floor, and then did Dr. Fields add his to that? Sullivan Central gym floor?
I don't think it's on
I don't think so.
I don't believe.
Is it okay?
That's what Mike said.
That's what Mike said.
Central needing a floor too?
In my opinion,
Okay.
I think after looking at it, they kind of done like they did at Mary Hughes. They put a
Little $3,000
finish on
job
top.
on
And I think that floor needs to be taken down.
Tack or whatever it's called down on it, and then tack stuff or whatever to get to grip.
Yes.
Is that all they did to it?
I mean, I kinda hated that the money's been spent, but it really needs to be done right.
The maintenance department did Mary Hughes the last time. The maintenance department did the one at Mary Hughes the last time. And I don't think it was a great job when it was refinished.
Well,
Better get somebody knows what.
it's one thing to finish the top, but
Yeah.
that floor is, and it's been that way for a long time. It's
I know, there's a company in Severe with Finch on school. You may have ever heard of Finch on the floors, and they have many projects in here. I know they do a lot in East Tennessee. I'll give it a try, I'm sure he's got others.
I will say this, I think if we start looking at these elementary gym floors, everybody's gonna come holler. I'm not saying they don't need them, right, it's very prepared. I know there's
Those aren't cheap.
I know the other ones need it.
Well, probably every one of them is being used at least for rec ball and everything else too, aren't they? I mean, most of them.
That's the biggest thing. If we go into Mary Hughes, we need to look at your bleachers too. That, to me, is a safety.
Right.
You not agree with me
And
on that?
I agree with you. I didn't put it on there because I thought there were more pressing needs.
Right.
But
Sure.
that definitely is a need.
what could be done about this in a space like that? Just take them out and put.
Take them out, put some new ones in.
I've often wondered what's underneath those. I mean, it's been there so many years.
Dead bodies.
And you know that there's been a lot of stuff dropped in
It's like a treasure box.
Crawl spaces under there. There's a crawl space you can
I know.
access underneath.
I'm not going in there. I think
I'll open it up for you, Mike.
there's some dust in there.
All right. Moving on down to new business. We do have a Perkins budget amendment. It's just moving funds from line item to line item. There's no change in her plan for this year. Correct, Ms. Madden?
Correct.
Just moving funds around. The next one, so for TISA funding, the state is requiring that each school district create goals which include how we would recommend or how we'd suggest TISA dollars support areas of improvement. This is something that we've been working on. It has to be out for public comment. And at that point, that's all we thought we had to do and have it uploaded by November 1st. We wouldn't have known this had we not been meeting with Jamie Corwin from the First Corps region yesterday. But she told us yesterday, that 1 week ago, that the said now school boards have to approve. So here's how I would propose we do this. We'll look at the goals, and they're out there on public comment on our website as well. But we have to have this uploaded by November 1st. We don't have to have it approved until we are ready to approve it. But we have to have it uploaded. So we could upload it, anybody make suggestions, the board can make recommendations. We just have to have it noted in our board meeting minutes tonight that we won't have it approved by November 1st. It'll be uploaded but not approved. We can call a special call meeting if we wanted to and come back with any recommendations of changes, make those changes and get it approved before we put it on there, but that's not completely necessary. The goals just have to be uploaded and on the state, uploaded to the State Department by November 1st. It's a living document, so much like this manager's Perkins budget, it can change throughout the year. And so, and I assume ours will, as we get our data back in November, for the rest of our data, we may have some things we want to add and change, even on into November, or December, or January. So, at the board's pleasure, we can do it either way. We can show it tonight, come back at the November meeting to vote on it, to approve it, or we can set up and say, we'll call a special meeting before November 1st, get it approved, and then upload it from there.
Couldn't we just approve it tonight and then the living document change it next month if we chose to?
That would make more sense.
I
in
mean,
my opinion.
if we do that, then it kind of takes away having to explain what we're doing to anybody.
Kathy,
I mean, I think so,
that's
it's
acceptable.
still a living document, yes, we can make those changes.
So anything we don't like next month and every month beyond, we can
Change it.
Yeah,
And it's the goals that align with our district
That's it.
improvement plan. So
Yeah.
it's really already existing goals, it's just a different format.
The goal is, the way it's been explained to us, is that TISA goals, your school improvement plan, will basically, because why would you have different goals? You know, you want all your focus to be going in one direction, so.
But if tonight we don't do it, and you have to tell them we talked about it, and you have to say we're gonna do it, and we're gonna approve it, but it just seems like it's causing a lot of work that we can just approve it and then change it if we want to change it.
Either way, that's different in either way there. So, if the board wants to, let's look at them first and just let you be aware of what you're gonna be approving. Okay, so there's 3 goals, and one has to be dealing with 3rd grade reading, obviously with the promotion, 3rd grade promotion. We have to show how we're going to get to 70% of our 3rd grade students will be at met or exceeded expectations within 5 years. Not within 5 years, we have 5 years to show and where we're at that point. The goal is 70%.
it is, the
Kathy, you
ultimate
wanna
goal
say
is 70%, but we have a certain amount of time to close at least the gap by 15%.
Each.
So we'll easily do that on the track we're on right now.
And so, Dr. Palmer, you want to scroll up to the first one? And that is basically what we were just discussing. 70% of our students will score proficient on 3rd grade ELAT CAP by 2033. And this is the same goal for everybody across the state. They have to have one goal that speaks to this. And so you can see our goal statements, and then there's action steps and budget. So almost, rather than ask you to approve this, unless we want to go point by point and read every point of this, it's almost better if y'all have a chance to read it over before you approve it. I believe.
I've got a general question. Randall mentioned something a couple months ago that I thought was a pretty good idea. Have we thought anything more about focusing on reading and math and
Absolutely.
until we get where we...
Absolutely.
So
Yes, sir.
what's the general consensus?
The 3 goals, 2 of them, one of them is ELA and one of them is math. So exactly what you're saying.
But what Randall was saying was maybe just teach those subjects.
The science and social studies.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of what happens though?
And Kathy, you want to speak to that in elementary? Social studies for sure, well, and science.
Yes, in elementary, in K2, we do not focus any attention specifically to science or social studies. It's heavily embedded in the reading curriculum already, so we use that. And what we find is kids get engaged in that, and they bring that science and social studies information with them when they move up into 3rd grade. Most of our schools have a 3-man team. A larger portion of our schools have a 3-man team at each grade level. Those schools, a lot of them in 3, 4, and 5 can appoint one teacher to take on science and social studies, which leaves one whole block devoted just to reading and one to math, okay? In a case like Bluff City, Holston, and Ketron, where there's more than 3 teachers, a lot of those places will do 2-man teams. 4 is, I think Ketron is, or Holston is the only place that has a 5-man team still, but in those grades anyway. And so they do 2-man teams when they have 4 teachers. And then they do teacher. And the ELA teacher takes just a small portion. Usually those blocks are about 2 hours long when it's like that. And so they can take the last 30 minutes or so and do science or social studies with that. leaving an hour and a half for their reading block, which is that's what their curriculum is designed for. And so, do we teach a lot of isolated science and social studies? Frankly, we don't. In fact, right now we're in a gap year curriculum-wise, and so the digital subscription ran out on the science curriculum. And so they're using what they've got. They're using the materials that they've had for the last 5 years that are still there in their hands, and we've got some resources from the CER, that consortium that we belong to. There are science resources out there that are standards-based, so they're using that. But there isn't, even in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, there is not a lot of time devoted to social studies and science anywhere. In K2, there is virtually none, except what's absolutely written into the ELA curriculum. They use that for their text.
Has there anything been established anywhere that has proved to be really successful, or is everybody still searching? Where are we at? I mean,
For science and social studies?
no, for the math, for
For
the
the
reading and
math.
To get where we need to be in reading and math.
Yeah, we're actually
We're working on
kind
it.
of ahead of the pack in a lot of ways. It doesn't look like it when you look at our scores. But we've made a substantial amount of progress in the last 2 years.
I saw that.
And if we go in here and we figure out the gap and all that stuff, if we keep improving, we've improved between 6 and 10% the last few years, each year. And so if we keep on, we figure our gap and we need to improve by 6.4% each year to get to 70% in 10 years, which seems like a long, long time away. But we were given 5 years to close that gap 15%, and we'll do that next year if we continue on the way we have for the last 2 years. So 38 is a low percent, and I am not making light of that. It is not enough. But I am pleased to see the growth that we've seen in the last couple of years for elementary. I think the key is focusing in strong in K2, because that's where you learn to read. And that doesn't show up for a few years in the test scores, because we don't see those scores until they're in 3rd grade. So.
And I think if you look at our TISA action steps, you'll hear or you'll read and see exactly what Ms. Nestor's saying is a lot of emphasis on that foundational part, which is what Mr. Jones was talking about, that Mr. Hughes' comment about is we cannot continue to send a kindergartner to 1st grade, a 1st grader to 2nd grade, and they're lagging behind, because they're not going to catch up. When they get in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, the dies, you don't want to say it's doomed, but it really is hard to recover if you're not reading on grade level when you get to 3rd grade, which is why this test was brought out this last year. We just can't wait till, that's what I said when the test came out, is we can't wait till 3rd grade to recognize we got a problem.
Can't fix it there.
No, we can't fix it there.
One of my fears is that maybe we're doing something right and we'll change before we see the result.
I know, me too. I do get really
So
scared of
we
that.
have recognized that we're seeing improvement, we're sticking with what we're
We'll
doing.
stay the course there. Right. If anything,
I
put
think
more
we have a lot of
resources.
evidence that it's working. We just had to catch up, and then COVID hit in the middle of trying to catch up, so.
That was kind of going to be a remark I was going to make, but we're almost to recovery, aren't we?
We're very close. We're very close. The data meetings that we attended in
People I've talked
elementary
to say
school,
that we're just about to,
most of the schools are looking at numbers that are right even with where they were before school shut down. So I hope we are definitely on the road to recovery. I feel a little bit about that.
So yes, goal 1 is directly related to ELA. Goal 2 is directly related to math. 3rd through 8, students in grades 3 through 8 have demonstrated an average increase. My eyes aren't going to allow me to read that too in here. At that. There we go. There we go.
Yeah, we're making a lot of progress in math.
Go ahead, Ms. Nestor.
Well, I didn't mean to take over that,
No,
but
no.
we are making huge progress in math. We, in elementary school, we adopted the Eureka Math in 2020 of all the years. And not every single school bought in that first year, but they did the next year. And so we have had 3 years of using that curriculum before they chose to adopt it officially in this adoption cycle. So for elementary, we don't have much change going on this year while implementing new materials, because they're new, because they're Tennessee specific and all that jazz. But they're really not a new approach to our teachers at all. And so when we averaged the growth rate that we were seeing in 3A over the last 3 years, 9.9% that's huge growth every year. Elementary has seen an increase for the past 3 years, sizable increase in math scores. And so I feel like we're really on the right track there. You know, we designed this goal. I spent some time on the phone with Ms. Buckles last night, and we talked through, did we want to try to do a 312, 311, whatever you want to call that goal, or did we want to focus in on those elementary years? Because there again, if we don't get it right in K-5, they can't possibly be ready for Algebra 1 in high school. And so we have got to get it right in elementary school, and I think we're playing catch-up in a lot of ways in elementary. And so we did the math last night, and I think we can get to 60% in 3 years. I really do. We've got to keep on the same path we are. I feel like middle school's got a little bit more of a challenge because they did have a curriculum shift, and I think it looks a little different than what they're used to using. And so there may be a little bit of a dip that first year this year, but I think we'll pick it back up.
One more question.
Yes.
If you put a new plan in place, how long does it take to see that it's working? I was in too, so.
At least 3 years. And when you start
You've
talking
invested
about
3 years.
when you talk about kindergarten, you know, it's the 4th year before you're even tested for real. I mean, we're taking that 2nd grade test, but the one that counts is 3rd. And so, you know, you've got kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade that you don't have too much of a metric there to really judge things by.
And there's no intermediate indications.
We benchmarks. We do benchmarks 3 times a year.
Well, I've watched those benchmarks. Sometimes it seems like we perform better on the benchmarks than what we do.
Yes, that was really the case until last year, and when we moved over to Mastery Connect, they were much more in line with what we did on TCAP, very much more in line. And so I feel good about that change as well, and we're going to be using them again this year. So I think we'll start having more of a metric to judge by. Of course, we have the universal screener, but that just really is looking at our students growing. The benchmarks give us a much more clear indicator of, based on test items, you know, what's that going to look like.
Was last year the first year we used that 2nd grade test?
Yes, as I, for kids, for teachers, everybody. A lot of tears. It was a little bit scary.
I mean, at least it'll get them more prepared for the 3rd.
That's right.
I'd rather them have tears on the 2nd grade.
Yeah, I know that 3rd grade is such high stakes now.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want that anxiety to be the first time anxiety.
CCR, College and Career Readiness Goal. And it just shows the areas that we're wanting to continue to have growth in. And then all the methods or strategies are listed in there as well for you to read. So I think the question goes back to what Mr. Iverson was saying there. Do we want to wait until the November board meeting to actually vote on it, knowing that we'll upload it before November 1st? And then any suggestions that are made, we go.
I think what he said was,
I trust his group. I mean, you know, it's like, I mean, it's going to be the same vote next month. I mean, it's going to be this group put it together. So
I'll assure you they are working tremendously hard on it, have been working hard on it. I got dinged this morning about 4 o'clock in the morning for the campus next year. So they are working hard on it. Well, it wasn't that early. No, it wasn't that early. Yours was.
It was because I did it at 9.
Right, yours was at 9. I got it at 4:30. Yeah. 9:30, I'm out. 4:30 in the morning, I'm up. So. All right. So we'll make that a voting item tonight. Is it okay? And I skipped 7A. This is just a suggestion or a review on the night or the day that we're meeting on. Possibly moving that to the 2nd Tuesday of each month.
What's the reason for that?
We run into having to change it due to holidays in the first week. And so Christy brought it up that if we moved it, we'd have one conflict, and she gave me the calendar for next year, it would be fall break. But all other, like the week of the 4th of July, New Year's, all of those, we're ending up having to reschedule. So it would just be a discussion tonight for a review on first reading.
And we need to change that shall to a should, I think. Where it says shall be on this day, I think it should be should. Because
Regular meetings of the board shall be held on the first Thursday.
change that name from shall to should. I would, that's my recommendation. I mean, because we need to give ourselves some latitude on that, I think. And that's my opinion.
Because the 2 or 3 of us can't be here on shelf.
Yeah. Because it's something that we've done for the entire time I've been on here, and I just saw that last time when I brought it up. I just thought we need to change that word to make the thing line up with what we already do.
And there's no other county meetings on that day.
Right.
We looked at that county meeting schedule.
But there's basketball games on Tuesday night.
Do they have on there?
No, there's senior night tonight though, at the Westries for, what is it, volleyball? So, on Thursday nights.
There's no Thursday night basketball.
Tuesday's
Friday.
Okay. Never put that together.
Volleyball's Tuesday, isn't it?
Hills go for volleyball's Tuesday, Thursday, I don't know what basketball
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
I like Thursdays because Thursdays are already tied up with county commission meetings and work sessions.
You on Thursday.
So you know that if it's Thursday, you kind of,
You're probably off the calendar you're on.
You just pick my issue, do some on Thursday, as they can.
You usually apply.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. The day doesn't matter to me. I think we should change the should to, or shall to a should, but other than that, I'm open to whatever you guys want to do. It doesn't bother me.
I know spring break falls on, if we leave it how it is, 4th of July, spring break,
I think
Thanksgiving.
causes a disruption.
So, yeah.
Because the items have to be in to the
and right now we meet on the first Thursday, right?
first Thursday of the month. Yes, sir.
Christie looked it up. I forget.
It was, the only one on the calendar was fall break this next year.
Right.
That we would have to consider changing the date.
What's New Year's on next year?
January.
No, it's not Thursday.
It's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday.
Wednesday. So 24, 25.
Yeah.
It's 4 years.
Now you're talking about moving it to second Tuesday, is that what or first Tuesday?
Second, because that gets away from that beginning of the month. Labor Day, September 2nd.
That's Monday though, right?
That's Monday. But it's just the week, if they're out of school, everybody getting everything turned in on time and her getting the agenda ready and getting it out to everybody. And that was more of it, there was just more of the getting things ready was her job. Don't see any others that would be a conflict. That's just a conversation, or however the board wants to. I think it's just a review tonight, wasn't
Okay, I go with majority, I don't care.
So,
I make no schedule for this, but people who work on other things.
Well, quite honestly, I think it would help specifically Christie, because when we do these things and the school's out, she feels like she's got to be here to get all that together. And regardless.
I'm good, either way.
Just to bring it up. This is first reading, and then we'll bring it up
Next time.
in November, okay? Let's see, that. The letter D, social media lawsuit. This was something that Chris McCarty's office forwarded to us just to see if there was any interest. Just a high-level review of it. Similar to the Jewel litigation that we are getting that finalized. That should be coming in. I've got emails saying that we're ready to settle on it if the board wants to. I'll be presenting over the time to be on this agenda. But this particular lawsuit is being filed on behalf of Clarksville Montgomery Schools against social media companies such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, a lot of those. And basically what they're charging, or what their case is about, is they're saying that these social media groups have targeted young people and it's impacted their mental health basically. And so they're pulling or drawing a suit against them. And so it's just sent to us saying, is that something that you all would be interested in being part of the lawsuit? Clarksville, Montgomery, Knox County, Sevier County, and Oneida, and many others have joined it. So is that any conversation about that?
And there's no fee unless they win.
Unless they win. Right, unless we win. Right.
You know, with the Jewel, I think that if we dropped out, we had to go back and pay back fees.
That's in their contract, yeah, exactly.
I think it's in the contract.
No, so I'd like to see this contract before we say, yeah, but I'm in favor of the idea. Make sure it's not going to have any backlash on us.
It doesn't say here in that letter, I don't think I read it.
That's a good question from Chuck.
Yeah.
It's on, yeah.
All right. Go over off the back. There's a couple of items that were just work session. We were going to make the TISA accountability goals our spotlight tonight, Dr. Rouse, so that we won't have anything else there.
That's good. Okay.
Okay. The targeted recruitment strategies, and I've asked Ingrid, we have a situation, and it is getting almost to the critical stage, not just for Sullivan County, but all around us as well. But we have some situations where teachers are teaching on waivers, and we have in a few isolated situations, some teachers teaching on a permit that they've had to get beyond the waiver. And the question was, what are we doing about that? And there are some steps that we are required to take, and just to share those, I believe Ingrid was going to speak to that just briefly.
So it's a little bit different according to each position that we have to request a waiver for, our recruiting strategies. But I can tell you overall, this is what we try to do to find somebody. First of all, the first thing I do, the easiest thing I do, is I post it on our opportunities page to try to get anybody that's interested to apply. To be very honest, it's probably the most useless option that I have in my tool belt, but that's what I do. And some people are very on that, and as soon as I post it, they apply. But normally this time of year, if I'm doing that, there's a reason why they're applying really quickly, because they don't have a job. And if you're a certified teacher and you don't have a job this point in the year, there's probably a really good reason why you haven't been hired yet. The second thing I do after that doesn't generate anything. The second thing I do is I start calling up the universities. And I say, who do you have that you know hasn't got a job that you think would be a really good teaching candidate? I don't want just anybody, but I want to know who you have that's good. King University is fabulous to work with. Mr. Gilmore, when he was there, he could tell me, okay, John Smith's perfect, you'll like him. Or he'd say, to be honest with you, I don't have anybody that I would recommend at this point. Angie Baker's taken over, done a great job, I can call her and get that. If the universities don't have anybody, I call Donna Williams of the ESS. She's our substitute system provider, and say, who do you have as a certified sub that I can tap into? She's even good about saying, hey, this one's not in my system, but she does Kingsport City, and she's great. So she'll give me the contact information, because she has feelers out, she can do that. She does Hawkins County too, I believe, so she can give me feelers on those too. And then after we do that, if we still don't have anybody, I'm going to go back to the universities and say, do you have anybody that's in your master's program that I could do job embedded? The two that we have in elementary now, that's how we got those two. They were supposed to be job embedded, but when it came down to the fact that they would have to take a praxis, and it would be 30 days for us to wait on the next praxis, and then they have to score that praxis, so we could be looking at 60 days to get that person in and job embedded. I could request a permit. No offense to any praxis test, but I don't think passing a praxis makes you qualified to be a teacher, just flat out. It was much easier for me to get them in there just requesting a permit, because I got that permit within 24 hours. I'm holding the teacher to keep them from going to their next assignment, whatever they've taken a job at. If they don't want to be here, I want to let them go. But I don't want to let them go till I have somebody in that spot. So instead of making them wait their full 30 days, I was able to release them and put that person in with the permit. That's not something I've ever had to do before. But to be very honest with you, I'm new to HR anyways. 3 years experience is not a veteran in HR by any means. However, I can tell you in the 3 years that I've done this, it has changed drastically from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, and we're in a spot that I've never seen before. I've never seen it when you put an elementary application out, or posting out, you get no applicants. I mean, none, 0. I've never seen it that way. Now, aviation, it's been hard to find aviation from day 1. That one was a little bit of a different targeted strategy because I couldn't call university other than Northeast State, and we most certainly, Brent went straight to Richard Blevins and said, where can you help me? And we found out Richard Blevins is even struggling to find somebody to work in his college. So we did a different recruitment strategy for that one. Brent actually went to airports and put out feelers to say, who do you know that has a pilot's license that might be interested? Debbie Magic's husband knew some pilots, and we called him and say, hey, one was a retired pilot from THP. Would you like to come out of retirement and change the lives of some young people? We tried to, we almost had him until he realized he had to get out a bit early every morning. We talked to a retired teacher from Elizabethton City Schools about aviation. We literally beat the bushes for aviation. That one's a hard one. CTE classes are a lot harder to fill. There's not really somebody I can go to as a standard recruiting procedure for that. So we change it just a little bit for CTE, just like we did for aviation. So depending on what the class is, my normal standard procedure is to go what I just told you, but we may have to tweak it just a little bit for a different class. Chemistry, for example, at Westridge, we exhausted all those options that I just told you about recruiting, and then I thought, well, maybe we can find a chemist from Eastman that would want to come. Well, we struck out there too. So finally, if you leave a posting up long enough, somebody's going to come along. A lady who's relocating to the area from out of state, from Florida, applied. She's a chemistry teacher, has experience teaching in high school. So we're hoping to have her as soon as fall break is over. She'll be moved to relocate to Tennessee. That one helped us out. We couldn't go any other options, so that one helped us out. But our overall recruiting strategy is what I just told you, with a few tweaks.
You have to submit those to the state, do you not?
I do.
Well, say that, I didn't hear that.
She has to submit those strategies to the state. And I have a concern about using people for permits, I think I've already expressed that to Mr. Harder, except in the CTE program because those are so hard to fill. But right now, you can get a permit in so many different subjects, except elementary phys ed. There's a law that does not allow you to get an elementary permit in phys ed, which is ridiculous, but it's political. There is another resolution that's been supported right now to try to get a permit under end-of-course testing. So you cannot get a permit for an end-of-course test subject. Chemistry used to be an end-of-course test subject, but that has been changed. Is that not correct? Is that correct? So now you can get a permit for an end-of-course for chemistry, but you can't get one for biology and for those type of things. At least that's what I'm told. But I went to the board of directors meeting for TSBA last Friday, and they have 12 resolutions that are being supported, and one of them is to allow permits under end-of-course testing because other systems are having the same thing, same problem that we're having. But we've got to address the permits. We've got to address why we're losing so many teachers. We've lost 10 teachers this year to Bristol, Kingsport, and Johnson City, I believe. I think that was on the report that I asked for. And it all comes back to money. The teachers that we're losing right now, the ones you had to get permits for at the 2 elementary schools, we lost them to 2 schools because they got more money and they left after the school year started. So we have got to start a concerted effort again, to do something with our salaries, to get money, to get the salaries back up to where we won't be losing them left and right. 2 years ago, when we did the salaries equalization plan, for a year or so, we were okay. Then, Kingsport, Bristol, and Johnson City raised their salary schedules up. And, you know, it's not political, but they're paying what they've got to pay to attract the teachers. But the problem is they are attracting Sullivan County teachers, and they are attracting some of our best teachers. And then it handicaps us even further. Right now, if you wanted to move somebody in a current position to a different position and create a vacancy, you created hiring somebody on a permit usually. So if you make changes after the school year starts, it creates additional problems for us. So we've got to get proactive, in my opinion, and do something with the salaries to help stop having to use permits. In my 52 years of working in education, I'd never used that we hired anybody with a permit for elementary school. You know, we had to hire some for specialty courses. I knew that, aviation and some other things. But when we wanted to hire someone for an elementary teacher, there was just always plenty of applicants. I know things have changed now, but we've got to do something drastically to make us more attractive. And now, as we get ready to start on next year's budget, it's time to do it. And it's going to ask for money, I think.
We need another raise along the lines of what we did last time.
Well, not only that, the new state law says we have to have a starting salary of $50,000, I believe, in 2 years, right? Yes. Right now, it would take a $5,700 pay raise to get our beginning teacher salary up to $50,000. Now, if you take $5,700 and multiply it with the number of teachers we have, we're looking at about $6 million more in our budget just to reach that state minimum. We can't wait 2 years down the road and address the problem. The problem is now, we know it's coming, and I think the starting salary right now is what, $43,700 or something like that? And it's got to be at $50,000 by the year 26. So,
And you can't just raise the new teachers.
You got to raise everybody's
Because
it's got to be
proportion.
Right, but we could have done some of that this year. I mean, the TISA funding gave us an extra $11 million this year over what the state did for BEP. I mean, there was a tremendous amount of money come into the system from the state.
But how are you going to maintain that without?
It's still coming every year from the state. It's TISA. It's not going away.
What would you have cut to take care of that $11 million? Because it has to be a continuing revenue, has to be a recurring revenue.
It isn't recurring revenue.
And that part is recurring, but you're not going to find the money unless you're taking it away from somewhere else. You're going to have to either take it out of renovation money, you're going to have to take it out of some other category to pay for the salaries. You can't pay it out of, well, you could pay it out of your fund balance for 1 year, but then it's not recurring money, so that doesn't make any sense, because you can take your fund balance and do that. So it has to be some type of recurring money that's coming in. Now, in 2 years, there'll be probably a little money coming in from the state to pay for the $50,000, or $50,000 starting salary, but not that much.
But TISA went from $39 million from the state to $50 million from the state. That's recurring money. That's money every year. It's gone up $11 million. I mean, for us to sit back and say that some of that couldn't went into salary, I think it's hard to sit back and say that.
Where did it go?
Well, that'd be a real good answer. I don't really have it because we had an hour before we voted when we got their budget. But I mean, we have to be able to look at that budget and find out where that money went, because there's no way we could absorb $11 million and not increase funding.
$7 million of it is because we don't have a fund balance this coming year. I think we're using what, $263,000 out of fund balance.
That money will be here every year. It's TISA versus BEP. It's funding.
But not the fund balance money.
Not the fund balance money, but $11 million came in from the state, and that $11 million will come next year.
You take the budget and show where you can cut, because that's the only way you're going to get it, is to cut the budget, make about $11 million.
How many funded but unfilled positions do we have in our budget?
I don't have an answer to that question.
I don't think, but I'd love to have that answer. We have to have a tremendous amount of funded but unfilled positions.
don't think there's a ton.
I wouldn't say a tremendous amount by any.
I mean, there's
Now,
a very
there's a lot
small.
of support staff positions that are vacated daily. I just got a resignation from a special ed assistant. Happens every single day. For us to find those people and get them replaced, if you want to call that a funded but not filled position, most certainly there's several of those. $11 million worth, absolutely not.
You'd be hard pressed.
And some of those are federal, lots of them are Title I assistants, has nothing to do with
Nothing to do
GD
with that,
budget.
yeah.
How many teachers we have? 700 teachers? I think 700
650,
full
I'm
high.
I
sorry.
think it's like
650.
649 or 652, somewhere around 650 number.
Right.
If you had one extra teacher at each school, that would be 15 positions system-wide that you could say is unfunded. We don't have that, I don't think. I don't think you'll find 15 teachers in that budget that's unfunded. But you've had the budget now since July the 1st.
Okay, I'll find it.
You know,
Challenge accepted.
Find the living man, it'll make $1 million.
I'll find it. Challenge accepted. I'll find it.
It's not there.
It is there. $11 million came in, it had to go somewhere.
It's not an unfunded position.
But then
But
it went somewhere.
$11 million that came in, some of it came in for salary schedules, for increases. It came in for equipment.
We could have gone, if it didn't go to other places, which I need to find out where those other places are, we could have done the straight up to 50,000 this year with the money we got from TISA. $11 million goes a long way.
Mark, you got your commissioner hat on or your board hat? Just asking.
I've got the hat, I'm trying to figure out where the money is.
1% increase, it costs for $1 million. Am I close on that?
A 1% increase?
Yes.
Talking on Florida, I don't know that I have that number on top of my head.
That's probably low. I mean, it's probably more than that. But regardless, the challenge is, it's not really a challenge. It's $50,000 starting salary in 2 years. We gotta have that. You gotta have reoccurring money every year.
I agree.
And if there's $11 million hit in that budget, I'd like to know where it is too.
If it was, in fact, $11 million that we could have put directly there, that would have and could have done it. But that's not, I mean, that part might be true, but there's not, it's not true that there's $11 million in unfunded positions.
No, I'm not saying they're wrong.
Or anywhere else, and I would be anxious to see what you found, because I've looked at it and I can't see it.
I mean, it's easy math. BEP was 39 million and TISA's 50 million. That's $11 million difference in the same year, from year to year. So, I mean, the money's there somewhere.
It is there somewhere, and it's laid out in every category, and I've studied it, and I can't find any places where $11 million was misappropriated or.
I'm not saying it is.
Well, I want to know what you are saying, because I want to study it again. What exactly are you thinking? Say, what are you thinking?
What I'm thinking is the state increased our funding by $11 million.
Well, what do you think happened to that money?
I have no idea. I'll find out.
I've looked at it. I mean, you looked at it, didn't you?
I looked at it.
I
And you
think
looked at it from 2 points of view, Mark. You looked at it from a Board of Education member and voted for it. You looked at it as county commission and you voted for it there, I believe.
No, I did not vote for it here, because it had a long.
You voted for it in the county commission,
To approve maintenance of effort, absolutely I did, because there's no other choice. And I wouldn't want to do anything different anyway.
and also approved $4,000 or $4 million that came out of the property tax that we don't have this year. We've got the sales tax, and I haven't seen a report on sales tax recently, so I don't know if it's still high or not. But is it, Jim?
I don't know, that's in the report, either.
But we lost $4 million in property tax from last year's budget, and the sales tax was increased $4 million to offset that. And if that sales tax doesn't come in this year, then it's going to come back next year, and somebody's going to ask for a property tax increase on the back of that $4 million. But regardless, we're faced with the $50,000 starting salary in 2 years. Regardless, we're losing teachers to Kingsport, Bristol, and Johnson City. And you can lose those teachers without them even leaving the area. They don't move out of the county. They just drive somewhere else. And then we want to increase support salaries. You know, even this year, last year, we increased it a little bit. And Bristol adds $2 an hour to their salaries for some of the support staff for everybody across the board. So we lose support staff to them too. We lose coaches for the same reason. So all the way down, it all comes down to money.
I've got two items. We're at 6:15. You think we can try to get those two in? Okay, I'll talk fast. So this was only on a work session. I hope everybody got a copy of that. It is on there. I actually was looking on the other sheet. Christie had this as board work session topics. We've covered the board agenda. We've covered the TISA goals. We've talked about the recruitment strategies. There's two other items. One of them is you got a paper with Sullivan East High School baseball lights on it. This has been presented, Mr. Hubbard presented it. We do have a lot of damage and outdated equipment with the lighting system there at Sullivan East High School. Recently, one of the poles in a bad storm did fall, got knocked down. There's other poles that have holes in them from woodpeckers. So this is just a presentation to say here's an option if we want to replace those lights. We're going to be looking at between right at $300,000 to put in a system, because your old light bulbs are going to become obsolete. This is more LED technology. So just something, not anything to vote on tonight, I don't believe at all, but just something that we need to be looking at if we need to do that, how we're going to do it. If we're not going to do it, are we just going to replace the stuff that's there and just try to patch it for the time, or we want to invest and do this?
I'll make a quick comment there. I would not keep putting money in that mess that's there now. Those poles, and there's one pole, sorry, that
He's not here.
I thought I saw him. That's leaning.
Oh, yeah.
That I thought.
I've taken a picture.
Yeah, that's leaning.
One pail.
So, you know, this is a time where I don't think you put more money into what's broke.
Do we get any insurance money from one effect?
I don't think we qualify for a claim with $50,000 deductible.
How many poles were we talking about? 6 or?
I went out there and looked. I talked to Charlie Church on Sunday, and he said they can Band-Aid it. He said, talk to Charlie. He said, we can keep Band-Aiding it. He said, but the problem is those bulbs are going to be end of life. You can't buy the bulbs. My opinion, if we wait, it's $300,000, it's going to be $400,000.
Is this the baseball field?
Oh,
This is
just
one
baseball
field?
field. Just baseball field.
What do you think, Paul?
I'm thinking you don't do, as it's been brought up before, you don't do one at one school without the other. Right here, we're doing it at a baseball field, not a softball field. You do one, you gotta do them both.
Well, that's a good point. Randall, you may know a little bit about that. You know, when we done the turf, we had to do both. If there's a need like that, is that an obligation if you're replacing something rather than building something?
No, you wouldn't have a Title IX claim there on that.
Is that what you're saying, Paul?
No, I'm just saying, when we done the talk about the turf at West Ridge, we said we're gonna do these. We said we do it, but we're the same. When me here, if you're choosing baseball, you got softball
think that
Take a close look.
So we can do an assessment of the softball.
And I hate to spend 300,000 for softball if there's not a need.
Yeah.
Right.
You get charged to get us up numbers when they were both replaced.
I mean, that would be something to actually try to figure out too, because there is a timeline of all of these lights. You're not gonna be able to find them. And we're gonna have that problem in a lot of places. I mean, those LEDs are gonna be a factor soon. I don't know what that timeline is. I don't know, it may be 10 years out, but it may not. I don't think it's that far out where you won't be able to find those lights. So it's probably something we need to know in advance to start doing some pre-planning on too.
That was one reason for doing the needs assessment, following the board policy that, you know, we got in there that every year in October, we update it. And see what and it's not just once, you know, and this here on baseball is not a want right now because all failed. I'm not Paul, push another one down.
It's, the new lights will be much cheaper to operate too because, they're probably LED now.
Well, this would be a fund balance expenditure, Ingrid, that, if we paid 300,000, you have to request, right, have to request county commission.
Are could we get this put on the agenda for, I don't know, too close a notice tonight for people to have the time to think about it? I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that, but at least by November so we could, I mean, instead of keep putting it off. Is anybody opposed to that?
That's a good idea.
We'll have some information about the softball.
That'll give us time to look at the softball field.
And you may well get a better deal if you do them both.
That's
I don't know. I know anytime we've done something, we've felt like we need to do it both, and I don't feel like we're leaving it east. I mean, you got the board
Tonight, feels like there's enough of an expert
know kind of what.
Chris's number is 571
That's good.
5582 unless it's changed.
Thank you.
Dr. Palmer has a lot of time sitting around doing nothing, so if he wants
There
to
you
get some
go.
input on the band abilities there, that'd be.
I help out, no problem.
Well, you're over there doing
Yeah.
Since you're already there.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, since you're already there. Oh, one thing I'll say about this Musco is it says that's 8/10 and it's only good for 30 days, so make sure we update that, because it's already out of date.
Oh, okay. But they have to put up feet anyway.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. That makes sense.
That's just an estimate.
Okay, that makes sense.
We have a couple other things we can bring up at the regular meeting, but if we don't stop now, we'll be late.
We don't have to have an architect do those lines Easter.
What was the quote?
It's
for
gonna be
the-
315.
I think you do. I think you do.
That's the vehicle procedure. Do they have it?
Do you have your architect's license? You could also teach, you could also teach that, teach it.
Make sure it's in the ground line. Let's go way out there, and that's the woodpeckers are right there.
Do you think the West Ridge Fairgrounds would work? Cherokee, they're all doing this pretty